The Five Nights at Freddy's franchise has a total of 10 different games that create a deep and complicated story, and a part of that story is finally being made into a movie. Fans like myself have waited over 8 years for this movie to be released, and after waiting for so much time, fans are expecting a lot. Now that the final trailer has been released, we know a lot about the characters and stories, like Michael's involvement in the movie. But one character's role is still being debated, and especially after the first trailer was released, and of course I'm talking about William Afton. More specifically, people couldn't decide if this was Springtrap or Spring Bonnie, and personally I even argued that this was Springtrap, and now I can say that we were wrong. So in this video, I'm gonna go over and explain why Springtrap will not be in the FNAF movie, and explain why this scene from the final trailer just confirmed that this is Spring Bonnie. Now I know the title may sound confusing, as Spring Bonnie and Springtrap are the same person, but there are two very different versions of William Afton. In the game, Spring Bonnie was the Springlock animatronic that William Afton wore in the original Family Diner and used the suit when murdering the 5 children. He could go in and out of the suit, and Spring Bonnie was one of the first animatronics ever created. Now Springtrap, on the other hand, is a result of William Afton being inside of the animatronic when the spring locks activated, which in a sense fused the two together. William Afton's skin was meshed with the metal of the animatronic, and he was no longer human. He's actually Springtrap for the majority of the franchise, as he makes appearances in FNAF 3, FNAF Sister Location, FNAF 6, FNAF Ultimate Custom Night, and FNAF Security Breach. So why do many people, including myself, think that Springtrap was going to be in the movie when he's really only in the later parts of the franchise? Well, when the first trailer released, people argued that the suit looked too decayed for it to be Spring Bonnie, meaning that this would have been after he was spring-locked. They also brought up the fact that the eyes with the silver dots were only seen on Springtrap after he's been spring-locked, meaning that this scene would have most likely been at the end of the movie after a time jump. Now, the suit being decayed didn't matter that much because no matter what, the suit would already be damaged, even before the Springlock incident. But these eyes are only seen on Springtrap, since on the Spring Bonnie suit, the mask is hollow, meaning if this was Spring Bonnie, we would be able to see William Afton's eyes. This was backed up by the Springlock minigame from FNAF 3, where we clearly see the suit has a hollow mask. So with all this evidence and knowing what we do about Springtrap in the games, it was easy to assume that this was Springtrap. But after the final trailer was released, and after we got 2 more clear shots of this character, it's clear that this is Spring Bonnie. Looking at the 2 scenes he's in, the suit is decayed, but not like it is when he's Springtrap. The suit is also a lot more yellow rather than green, which is more proof that this is Spring Bonnie, as Springtrap is supposed to be this dark green color since there is a 30-year time jump. He also has a bow tie on, unlike Springtrap, and finally, but most importantly, he's using a knife to hunt down Michael. Springtrap never used any weapons in the games, but we do know Spring Bonnie did before any of the games even took place, and overall, it was obvious this was Spring Bonnie. And really, the fact that this character was even using a knife should have been more than enough evidence to prove that this was Spring Bonnie. But it feels like many people, including myself, ignored this fact just to say that it was Springtrap. So with all that said, just from the design alone, it's easy to confirm that this is William Afton wearing the Spring Bonnie costume. But I think there's even more evidence to this that comes from the information we know about the movie's story. And before I dive into this, I think it's important to make clear that this character is not Michael Afton. And as a matter of fact, this movie won't be following the game's timeline exactly, and instead will just be inspired from it. Many people are confused as to why William Afton is hunting down his own son Michael, but this isn't his son. There's actually plenty of evidence that supports that the Afton family dynamic won't be in this movie or included in the trilogy at all. Some quick pieces of evidence that proves that the Afton family does not exist in the movie are the fact that Michael doesn't even know what Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is or the history of the animatronics. He also doesn't recognize William Afton's voice, which is supposedly his father, and his younger sister's named Abby instead of Elizabeth like in the games. Vanessa's also in this movie, even though she doesn't make an appearance in the games until FNAF Security Breach. And finally, the crying child has a different backstory, as instead of being killed by Fredbear in 1983 like in FNAF 4, he instead goes missing in 1983, and we know this because of one of the newest synopses for the movie. So again, it's clear that the Afton family doesn't exist in the movie, and this fact alone proves this animatronic is Spring Bonnie. In the game, Springtrap is the one to hunt down Michael Afton in FNAF 3 at the Fazbear's Fright location, and this is a father hunting down his son. But now that we know in the movie that the Afton family doesn't exist and that the movie isn't following the game's timeline either, this means that this can't be Springtrap, this can't be Michael Afton, and this isn't Fazbear's Fright. This movie will have its own timeline and continuity, which means it will have its own story, which is why I think this is Spring Bonnie hunting down Michael, who is not his son. All this is the villain hunting down the protagonist for the movie for some reason. This actually supports a popular theory about the red eyes, which is that William Afton is controlling the animatronics to hunt down Michael, and the souls are not in control, which is why their eyes are red and not black with silver dots. So with all this evidence and with all the assumptions that can be made, this animatronic is Spring Bonnie, and Springtrap will not be in the FNAF movie. Although I do think by the end of the movie we will see the infamous Springlock scene, which will set up Springtrap as the villain of the future movies. But what do you guys think? Is this mysterious animatronic Spring Bonnie or Springtrap, and is this Michael Afton? But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.